Of course, when we're talking about education and we're talking about training and we're talking about all kind of being there in the market, why not we go to the International School of Trading, where we're going to welcome our moderator, Mr. Marco. All right, once again, ladies and gentlemen, good evening and welcome to day 2 and the final day for the FOREX EXPO. My name is Bassam right here. And you know, as I said earlier in the morning yesterday and today, and the afternoon yesterday and today, and evening of yesterday's and today, I always love to learn. It's all about learning. It's all about where to trade, how to trade, why to trade, with whom to trade, and am I really legit to trade on or not, or will I be having the time to trade on or not? These are all questions usually always come to our minds as a new trader or an old trader or an expert trader, but are you all in or not? So, with no further ado, I listen, I really pay attention from time to time to really know about the subjects, and definitely it is ringing my bell that I really need to put all my time in it to really trade. But that's not my speech, that's not my talk. The talk is going to be about the speakers and the panelists who are going to come up right now. So, one by one, I'm going to welcome them, starting off with from Infinox. Let's welcome Diego. Diego up on stage, there he is. And of course, when we're talking about education and we're talking about training and we're talking about all kind of being there in the market, why not we go to the International School of Trading, where we're going to welcome our moderator, Mr. Marco. Once again, Mr. Marco, if you don't mind, we got 30 minutes. Ladies and gentlemen, I really apologize if you got any questions and answers. We're going to leave it after the session is done so that we can win the time as we have some awardee to occur later on. So, Mr. Marco, thank you very much. Enjoy.
Okay. Here we are. As I said before, all of us are very lucky because we are in front with other 6 of the best brokers in the world. Don't lose any single word of this gentleman, okay? I will make some questions to them. Listen their answer. Now, I want to start with you because you're closer to me, okay?
How lucky I am.
It's not a very simple question, but where do you think there could be the opportunities for long-term traders?
Wow, that's a very good question. Well, first of all, you know, any trader or investor, they have to define and determine their investment horizon in terms of time, as well as they have to take into consideration their investment objectives. So, for example, if a trader, if we define that a long-term trader, like with a horizon from 3 to 5 years, then they have to take into consideration multiple different factors, which not only affect the current period, but also affect on the long term. So, to give a short answer, I personally think there is a good opportunity on the long term in the equities and ETFs once the markets anticipate that the central banks will cease from hiking rates.
All of you, I think, was listening to what he said. Do you have something to complain about?
Yeah, so at the moment we live in a world where uncertainty is the key word right now. We came from a dynamic where all the central banks were lowering interest rates. We ended up being in a situation where now we see inflation. Central banks are trying to catch up with that. Rising interest rates are bringing new opportunities to the market, but also bringing threats, also bringing issues that will obviously put some economies in a lot of pressure. Then uncertainty ends up being a key word here, because we never know what's going to happen, right? We can talk about asset classes, central banks, super cycles, how the economy is right now. Tomorrow someone just launches a missile and changes everything. And that's what we saw right now with Russia. We changed all the dynamic, and for as long as we can predict cycles, can predict how long are the central banks going to adjust their interest rates, uncertainty is always going to be there. So where exactly should investors be in the current situations? We have different asset classes that needs to be considered. So if I'm an investor, I cannot just put all the eggs in the same basket, of course. If I want to have a longer term approach, eventually, just like my colleague said, stocks, ETFs would be the ideal scenario. Short term, there's a lot of opportunities when it comes to indices, being long or short strategies. Forex obviously has been a huge opportunity, especially when we look at euro-dollar. So when we see these interest rate adjustments, we saw the dollar hitting record highs, the euro-dollar for the first time in I don't know how many years crossing the parity on the downside. The opportunity was there. There was a huge opportunity to make money.
I must thank you, but I must stop you, please. Because what I want to transfer to him, for example, don't forget we're talking about opportunities or long term for traders. Can you give us your opinion, please?
Yes, I think there's one commodity that stands out for me for a long-term opportunity, and that is due to the rise in electric vehicle demand and the green tech revolution. That revolution is going to need a lot of copper. Copper is flexible but highly conductive, so it's likely to be in high demand. There's a structural problem with the copper market. There isn't enough supply to meet the projected demand. And to make a new copper mine, it takes around 10 years in planning. So over the next 3 to 5 years, there's likely to be a structural deficit in the copper market. So I think, to echo with what Fadi said, is if we start to see a pause in central bank hiking, that could be a good catalyst for a long-term copper trade, which should pick up as electric vehicle and the green revolution gathers pace over the next decade.
Well, what about, we're talking also commodities. What about the commodities super cycle is overdone?
Actually, the commodities, we've witnessed a lot of volatility since the beginning of the year, especially with what's happening in Europe. And this definitely sparked some significant interest in the commodities market. However, if we just assess what happened recently in the markets, we almost lost most of the gains since the beginning of the year. The market is a bit stressed. So I believe this cycle is definitely, it's done, unless we have something that sparks, again, protectionism, which could, again, spike some supply issues, and these supply issues will trigger, again, a higher cycle. But as long as we're going into a possible recession, usually demand for commodities, they're lower in these types of, or these cycles of the economy, and interest rates are high, so there is no reason for investors to park their money in certain commodities, unless there's a structural behavior like the one that Giles mentioned when it comes to copper market.
Yeah. And please, do you also think that commodities super cycle is overdone?
From a short-term perspective, probably it is. From a long-term perspective, definitely not. Because what I personally feel is, with the interest rates, I mean, the US cannot be hiking the interest rates continuously. At some point, it has to stop. The moment that stops, you'll probably see the advent of, let's say, gold and all that stuff coming up again. Gold traditionally has been a safe haven, and it will continue to do so, especially the beating with the other currencies that's been taken. So, as I said, probably from a short-term perspective, maybe, but probably, let's say, start of next year, you'll probably see the commodities again going up.
Thank you. Please, we were speaking about the commodities, but it's better we start to speak also the weaker major currencies could be for the next future, closer future.
I believe the fundamentals and the exceptional movement for the USD during the last couple of months, which is related to the Fed hiking of the rate, give the power for the USD. And as our colleague just mentioned that we saw a parity on the USD dollar for the first time since maybe 2000, 2001. Again, we can see the British pound witness a very weakness due to the unstable situation there on the political side, let's say. So I can see a good chance of shorting these two currencies. Still, as we say, the fundamental side that the Fed is going to increase more on the rate on the upcoming, let's say, until the end of this year or maybe the first quarter of the next year. So I do recommend that we're still on the long side on the USD against the euro and the British pound mainly.
Thank you. So you also think that the weaker measure currency will be under the dollar?
Well, I mean, for some, I think it could be a no-brainer when you talk about the weakest major currency to be the British pound. That for different reasons, primarily because of the economic turmoil that they're having in the UK and the double-digit inflation number. But I personally think there's another major currency, which is the Japanese yen. And as we can see, there is a massive interest rate differential, which is creating carry trade opportunities. And that is adding too much pressure on the Japanese yen, while in the same time adding fuel to the fiery US dollar. Although we've seen last month that the Japanese tried to intervene in the market, but that was very short-lived. Usually markets try to challenge central banks. So they have to be very serious about it and either make some significant solo intervention or they reach for an agreement for a multiple joint intervention from different central banks.
We accept your opinion, very clear, but I want to know from you, please, what you think regarding euro in the general reputation with the other currencies. How you see it?
Yes, so
still going down?
If I knew it, I would short it.
Crashing down?
The truth is, so when we are talking about differentials between different currencies, we have to consider what are we valuing euro against. If I'm evaluating euro against other currency that is also weak, it's difficult to put a value on that. But when you look at euro against the dollar, of course, dollar is going to be extra valued against it because there's more value, intrinsic value, right now in having dollars against having euros. And I believe that's going to continue as it is, while we see the ECB being less aggressive as the Fed has been. So there's no reason right now, looking at the macro perspective, to say I want to buy euros against any other major currency, because there's no reason for that. And I think that's why the markets are right now putting all this pressure in the euro against, especially the dollar, and therefore keeping the euro dollar below parity.
Thank you. Can you please give me your opinion? Why, regarding still the euro, why euro is so weaker at the moment? The reasons?
I think one, obviously, the energy crisis that's going on in Europe as of now, and what happens in the next few months, especially winter approaching, that's going to be critical. I don't think anyone envisages the fact that the Russia-Ukraine issue would be prolonged for so long, right? If it had been solved, I don't think the euro would have seen so much pressure on it. And if it doesn't get solved in the next few months, euro will probably get a bigger beating than we all could imagine.
Thank you. You're quite right. Now let's change. Everybody since a long time ago is talking about cryptocurrencies. And we must speak also about cryptocurrency. And what I want to ask you, cryptocurrency the last time was real crashing down. And do you think we will see in the closer future a bull market, or the investor lose completely their trust in about currency, cryptocurrency?
Actually, what's good about the cryptocurrencies lately is that they're following also similar path of different asset classes. It's the first time since the early beginning of cryptocurrencies that we're really having quite good correlations between them and other risk assets. So what is expected at the moment is that if we go to a new cycle in monetary policies, now the Federal Reserve and other central banks, they're tightening monetary policy, so it's a bit risky to investors to park their money in risky assets. But if we witness any change in these types of policy, this could trigger another interest in such markets and in risky assets in general. When it comes to crypto, a lot of this valuation was because of a significant hype, because of a fuzz. And unfortunately, there's no barrier to entry when it comes to the crypto markets. There's always new coins coming in, and these coins, they're triggering a lot of money. So this money that's remained as it's getting dissected into different projects, different groups. This is not allowing certain structured or well projects to have better values. What's usually is used with the short history of Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies, that with every halving process for Bitcoin, we're seeing a bit of bull fuzz. And the next halving for crypto is coming in, the next halving for Bitcoin is coming in 2024. This could be a bit promising. But if we just, from my perspective, we have to just try to always take care about the risks in investing in such volatile assets. There are always opportunities in these markets, but it doesn't mean that if you're holding a crypto now, it's going to be valued at much more higher in the future. This is not similar to stocks. It's not similar to economy. There's a huge market coming in, but it doesn't mean that if I'm going to hold these cryptos for long, I'm going to be making money. They're not like the economy who starts at 5 trillion and then continues to go to 10, 15, 20 trillion with significant intrinsic value. So this is what investors in cryptocurrencies have to keep in mind.
Yes, good idea. Please, regarding always cryptocurrencies,
Yes.
as you should know, the major, Bitcoin, Ethereum, reached the level that there was in December 2020. It's a very particular area. And what do you think? Investors lose trust in this kind of instruments, or maybe we have chance to start again?
I think adding to what Wael said, he made a very good point about cryptocurrencies and particularly Bitcoin tracking certain other assets. And one of those asset classes that Bitcoin tracks very closely is the NASDAQ. Now, NASDAQ is tech heavy. And so what happened when a number of institutions bought large holdings of Bitcoin, in those investment bank profiles, it's bracketed under tech risk. So when tech stocks fall, Bitcoin falls in tandem. And when tech stocks rise, Bitcoin stocks rise in tandem. So what have US stocks been doing since the start of the year? They've been falling. So when we see a pause in Fed policy, we should then see an embrace of risk, which would support stocks and, by implication, will also support Bitcoin because of its very close correlation with the NASDAQ. So it's not a question of people losing trust or gaining trust. I think Bitcoin is going to be part of the financial tapestry going forward. Some of the other coins are more speculative. There seems to be one every week. I even speak to people who tell me they have their own coin they've made. But I think Bitcoin does have serious institutional investment behind it, and a return to risk should support Bitcoin. And I would say to anyone trading Bitcoin, just overlay the NASDAQ chart on top of Bitcoin, and you'll see that they're pretty much in lockstep.
It is indeed, I agree.
Regarding always the same arguments, what do you think? How to use the major cryptocurrencies for long-time investment or just for trading short-time?
I think, as my colleagues said, the situation back on 2020 was like a quantity easy, a free paycheck for people who were sitting at home during the pandemic. That makes a big liquidity on the crypto market, I believe. And it's clear now when the monetary policy changing the liquidity, they're taking the liquidity out of the market. So it was reasonable that we will see downtrend on the cryptos. This downtrend will start changing when the Federal Reserve start changing their monetary policy. Clearly.
Thank you. I know that you don't like very much cryptocurrency, is it?
Well, personally, I'm not a big fan, and quite evidently, we saw what happened with so many retail and even institutional investors losing billions of dollars. We have seen some exchanges going bust with a multi-billion dollars. So there's quite some significant risk in that space. However, just to go back to your question and give a more broad answer, broadly speaking, and also my answer revolves, as well as my other peers here on this panel, around the same point. I think broadly speaking, there is some upside potential in the crypto space. But what we're not going to see any longer is those parabolic moves where we can see like a coin being traded at hundreds of multiples in the market. And reason being is that the ecosystem is becoming more and more matured on one hand. On the other hand, also investors are becoming more educated and savvy about the space. So they can make much wiser investment decisions.
Yes, you're quite right. The way you was explaining your point of view, you're right.
Thank you.
Now, the time is flying, running away, and because they give us only 30 minutes, what we can do, what I wish, is better you repeat which company you represent, and the way the people who want to come to your stand can come and ask some more, having more information about what you do and the opportunities you can give potentially to all the people who want to join with you. Okay? Can we start from you again, please?
Yeah, I can start. My name is Jack Cardoso. I'm the head of business developments and partners at Infinox. We have two stands. We have a stand for Infinox, which is our main brand, and also IXO Prime, which is our institutional arm. So if you are looking for better trading conditions, lightning fast execution, and amazing partner promotions, come speak with me. I'll be in booth number 3.
Yes, thank you, please.
Hi, I'm Amarnath from CMS Prime. We are at booth number 68 out here. So if any questions you feel that you may come and just come to our booth, we'll be more than happy to answer your queries.
Please.
I'm Wael Makadam, Senior Strategist for the MENA region from Exness. Definitely you've seen Exness big stand when you first come in. We're the yellowish big booth, booth number 2. So feel free to ask any market questions. I'll be there. And thank you for all coming here. It's good seeing every one of you.
Are you going personally to give information to the one who wants?
Of course, I don't mind. If it's the
They
market,
find you there?
if it's a market related, they will find me.
Okay, so they will appreciate. And
Sure,
you too,
definitely.
please.
My name is Fadi Aburas. I'm the CEO of AvaTrade Middle East and ADGM Abu Dhabi. AvaTrade Middle East is a part of a wider group with global presence in the market for more than 16 years already. We introduce ourselves in the market not as a regular broker, but rather multi-asset, multi-regulated broker, as a fintech broker, of course. And we have very interesting products. We are positioned in booth number 21, right between the entrance and the exit, on gate number 7. So we welcome anyone who would like to join us and understand more about our products and services.
Thank you.
My name is Muhammad Al-Mariri and I present Orbex. I think we didn't have enough time to answer all the questions and share the information with all these lovely faces. It was an honor to be with those guys on the stage. And we are located on booth 20. You can stop by us for more information. And thank you for coming.
Thank you. What about you?
My name is Giles, and I'm with HYCM, and we are in booth 110, just by the lady that was playing the violin. We were just opposite her. So if you would like to pop in, we are running a special offer at the moment where I show clients how to understand the markets from a fundamental perspective. I have a lot of resources which keep clients in touch with the market every 20 minutes, every 30 minutes, so clients don't need to be confused about recent moves. They have a professional analyst explaining it to them. If you would like to find out more details, please do come along to booth 110 and see HYCM. I will be doing some questions and answers there after the panel. So thank you very much.
Okay, to all of you, don't lose these opportunities. Go run to them and get information. This is the last chance you have to meet these people. They are some of the best in the world. Only today, for you. Okay, clap them.